Shalom. This is to all Israelite groups and all Israelite communities and all breakoffs from One West and breakoffs from breakoffs from breakoffs from breakoffs. No matter what rainbow uniform you wear, red, white, purple and white, all white, it don't matter. You should all treat the ISUPK like your weird, misunderstood Sabbaths. You shouldn't do anything until you counsel with the ISUPK. We'll tell you when and what to eat. We'll tell you who to marry. We'll tell you who to have sex with and how. We'll tell you how to resolve conflicts with your wives. We'll tell you how to resolve conflicts with your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your parents, your friends, everybody. We'll tell you when and how to pray. We'll tell you how to direct your life in a way that's pleasing to the Most High God of Israel and our Black King Yahushua, a.k.a. Jesus Christ. We will be to you instead of a God. Just like the Most High told Moses in Exodus 4:16 that Aaron would be to him instead of a mouth and he would be to Aaron instead of a God, that's what we'll do for you. It is what you all need because none of you know what the fuck you are doing. I pray you understand. Shalom.
All right, Shalom, Israel. We the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Start out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commanding General Yohana. This is the Monday night scripture breakdown class. Go ahead, clap it up. We've been teaching blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans the truth according to the Bible since 1969. Something your Christian pastors have been unable to do for years. Your Christian pastors, your Catholic priests, your fake Israelite groups. And I hope y'all brothers and sisters understand that that warning that General Mayat gave. That was an extension of brotherhood. Because World War III has begun. Commander General Yohana, been prophesying about World War III since the 80s. We've been talking about World War III since 1969. We've been, telling you step by step about the signs that you should be looking for and what's going to happen next. Commander General Yohana been telling you exactly what you should be looking for and what's going to happen. And once one thing happened, he tell you what you should be looking for next. And he's giving breakdowns. He's giving impromptu classes. He's going city to city, state to state. Giving classes. Extending brotherhood to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, whether you whether you in some fake Israelite group, whether you're in that Christian church, or whether you're an individualite, or you consider yourself spiritual, like most blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans do. He been extending that brotherhood, and right now it would be a good idea for you to accept it. For you to come in and actually follow his instructions, man, because this is where the protection of the Lord is. This is where the protection of the Lord. You see in them Christian churches, you see where they claim to be the protection of the Lord, where you are to come to learn about the Most High God, where you come to learn these scriptures and all of that, to come under the protection of the Most High. And then you find out that for decades, that same Christian pastor been assaulting your children, assaulting your women, been turning your men into LGBTQ members. You put your trust into all these fake Israelite groups just to find out that they've been, doing the same thing, turning your men into women, turning your women into men, and having all sorts of scandals and destructive behavior going on in them groups, man. But here in the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, man, we've been trying to tell you the truth to save you from yourself, man. Save you from all these lies that you've been taught by every nation around you that wants you to be destroyed, to want you to not come back to your culture. Chiefly your oppressor, who is the devil the Bible speaks of. So if you got any questions or comments, first of all, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share it with your loved ones, even if whether you agree or disagree. Share it with your peoples. You got any questions, you go ahead, put them in the chat, and you can hit that QR code after the class, during the class, or wherever, whatever's convenient for you. And morning, noon, and night, there'll be a brother in that chat to answer all your questions and solve all your problems. All right. Hey, shalom, little Christ priest. With that, live, but they on, it should be one right there. But with that, if there's any questions in the chat, you go and put them in the chat. I mean, whatever platform you watching on. The title of the class is Gather Yourselves Together. You know what I mean? Again, like we was talking about before, you know what I mean? Right now, it is high time. As a matter of fact, let me get that real quick. Go to Romans chapter, what is it? Chapter 13, and what is it? 13:11? Let's see what that's talking about. Yep. I'll go ahead and read it. The book of Romans, chapter 13 and verse 11. And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than we believe. I mean, for the past couple years, for the past couple months, for consecutive weeks, I mean, brothers been beating this scripture, you know what I mean, into brothers and sisters' heads. You know what I mean, drilling it. You know what I mean, letting you know that it's high time to wake out of sleep. As we prophesying about World War III, as we prophesying about the things that have to come to pass for blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans to come out of this condition. You know what I mean? And now you seeing it happening. Now you seeing World War III. You know what I mean? It's happening right now where it's underway. I mean, it really ain't no turning back. It's been no turning back for a long time, but now you see missiles flying. You know what I mean? You seeing death tolls. You seeing, you know what I mean, warfare all around. You seeing, you know what I mean, Trump attacking, you know what I mean, who he Iran? He and he making threats. You know what I mean? He talking about if if we got to do it, if we got to make another move, it's gonna be a whole lot easier and a whole lot quicker. You know what I mean? So what he's doing is making it look like it's just a show of force. You know what I mean? He's making it look like it's just a show of force, and if we got to escalate, then we can do a lot more damage, a lot easier, a lot quicker. You know what I mean? It's already underway. Meanwhile, Iran, they making threats. Like you whatever come next, you brought this on yourself. Right. I mean, meanwhile, before all of this, before any missile had you know what I mean, before any missile was fired, before anything had happened, brothers have been warning you about this. Brothers have been telling you and reading you this scripture. I know Officer Yediah, you know what I mean, he usually hold it down for Commander or for General Mahyman every Monday, you know what I mean, before he arrived, and he been, I know him especially, he been drilling the scripture. And now you starting to see what we talking about. You know what I mean? So now you mind I got it, don't worry about it. You mind reading that again, Baba Shah?
God, this is the book of Romans, chapter 13 and verse 11. And that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now our salvation is nearer than when we believed.
So now our salvation is nearer than we believe. You know what I mean? You seeing it. I mean, for so long, we've been talking about the same thing, and now you seeing it. Now you seeing it. Now it's undeniable and right there in your face. You know what I mean? And now it is high time. Baba Kashal, let me get Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1. But right now, it's high time for us to understand what time it is. Right now, it's time for us to apply every scripture that, you know what I mean? You know, it's funny. It's funny that every black, Hispanic, and Native American can comb through the Bible and pull every scripture to try to justify why we should love our oppressor. Whole time, all of those scriptures that you try to bend to try to apply to the number one oppressor of your people, you know what I mean? The ones that sending ice ages after you, the ones that got your babies in cages, the one that got you on reservations and barrios and ghettos, you know what I mean? All those scriptures that we try to bend to love the people that hate us the most, all of those scriptures apply to you, black man, Hispanic man, Native American man. That's been the whole point all along. For black people, Hispanics, and Native Americans to realize that we are one people, man.
Right.
We are one people, and since we are one people, we have one nation. We have all these nations of people that are confederate against us, and we have one chief oppressor. I mean, that's been against us since the beginning. You know what I mean? Since the serpent in the garden, since you know what I mean, Jacob and Esau in the womb, man. And that's what we gotta realize. So now now that we see that our brothers and sisters are going through the same exact thing, like we went through, like we talked about last week, you know what I mean? How all the curses that you read in Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, all of them apply to not only black people, because it's easy for us to, as a black man, it's easy for us to read the curses and apply it to ourselves, because I mean that's the perspective that we got.
Right.
And your oppressor has I mean done everything in his power to try to make you forget not only your history but the history of your brothers that you know what I mean fought for you. So it's easy for us to read those scriptures and apply it to only ourselves. You know what I mean? But what you got to realize is that your Hispanic and Native American brothers and sisters went through the exact same thing. Now that you see that your oppressor is fighting one another, all your oppressors, all the nations of people that have been coming against you and destroying you and eating off of you, they're fighting one another, just like the scriptures prophesied, man. Just like Commander General Yohana been teaching since the 80s.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now it's high time. While you seeing your oppressors fighting one another, now it's high time for you to wake out of sleep and find out who you should be loving. Baba Kashai, if you don't mind reading that.
This is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2 and verse 1. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation not desired.
Mm-hmm. This is what we was told a long time ago, man. For us to gather together, man. This has always been the blueprint.
Right.
Black man, Hispanic man, and Native American man. For you to gather together with the nation not desired. Now, who is not desired more than a black, Hispanic, and Native American man? You know what I mean? I mean, anybody in the chat, anybody can answer that. If you know any nation of people that are more undesired than blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, you know what I mean? Go ahead and let me know. Maybe you know more than me. But I'm willing to bet that you can't find a nation of people that are less desired than a black, Hispanic, and Native American man. You know what I mean? You look back in what was it in 2020 or back around that time when COVID had when COVID had shut down America and we was in the streets protesting. We was in the streets protesting the lives of blacks or the lives that was taken of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans by police brutality or the military or just some oppressor with a gun. You know what I mean? We was marching in the street talking about no justice, no peace. And then we all went home. You know what I mean? We went home after marching with our oppressor, you know what I mean, putting on this whole facade of how we care or how we you know what I mean, how we marching for one another. And then weeks later, after they start opening things up little by little, you start to see that the outrage of the lives of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans taken has started to disappear.
Right.
You stop seeing protests. You stop seeing posts. You stop seeing remember, say his name, Malcolm Brown, Philando Castile, all the names. But they didn't stop taking our lives. They didn't stop massive. You saw what happened with I think around the same time. They was, you know, ICE been attacking our Hispanic brothers and sisters. You know what I mean? Putting them in cages on the border, losing hundreds of thousands of children. You know what I mean? And with no account for them. And we was, you know what I mean? We was outraged for a little bit. And then all of a sudden the outrage disappeared. Now the oppression didn't stop. The assault didn't stop. The separation of our families didn't stop. The mass incarceration didn't stop. But our zeal for one another did. You know what I mean? And that's the same thing. You know what I mean? You seeing right now with the ICE agents, you know what I mean? You see brothers and sisters protesting, but you know what I mean? We still find a way, even though we see how much of a devil our oppressor has been to us nonstop if you just take from 2020 till now, just if you see how much of a devil our oppressor has been to us since then up until now, you know what I mean? You have to ask yourself, like, how can you possibly still go out and, you know what I mean, stand side by side with your oppressor? You know what I mean? How could you still go home or go and choose you know what I mean, a white wife or a white husband if you're a sister?
Right.
You know what I mean? How could you still go and celebrate Juneteenth with your oppressor? You know what I mean? How can you still? I know it ain't over yet. I mean, 4th of July right around the corner, and you're gonna be right out there with a burger and a hot dog and them and some ribs, barbecue sauce all over your silly face. You know what I mean? Standing right next to your oppressor wearing red, white, and blue, which represents the nation that had you in captivity in the first place. You talking about you celebrating freedom, man. You know what I mean? How can we do those things, man? It's high time for us to wake up and gather ourselves together with the nation of people that are not desired. So like you go ahead, read on.
Verse 2. Before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the chaff.
Before the day passes. See, there's a time limit for you to gather together, black man, Hispanic man, Native American man. As you're seeing right here, like, you don't have an infinite amount of time for you to come back to the people who you belong to. You know what I mean? You have a time limit.
Right.
Before the day pass as the chaff. Go ahead, read on, Baba Kasha.
Before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you.
And what you got to realize is the Most High been looking at how we've been attaching ourselves to our oppressor. You know what I mean? How we've been celebrating his Christmases like clockwork. See, we don't even, most of us don't even know when the Passover is.
Right.
You know what I mean? We don't even, you know what I mean? Thanks to your Christian pastors, thanks to your oppressor who tried to erase your culture, thanks to your, you know what I mean, these coon Christian pastors and Catholic priests and all of that, and these Muslims, you know what I mean, Muslim imams and all these so-called black organizations, and, you know what I mean, your government, your military, you know what I mean, and your oppressor who you love so much. We don't even know when our how holy days are. We don't even know, you know what I mean? We don't know when the Passover is. We don't know when the Feast of Unleavened Bread is. We don't know when the Feast of First Fruits is. We don't know none of that.
Right.
But we celebrate Christmas, and we'll break our backs for that like clockwork, even if we don't have it. Slacky, sir, you had something?
Salakia, because of all these false and fake spiritual leaders, we don't know and we don't even care what God cares about. We could care less what God cares about and more care about how we can slip and slime our way through what God cares about to get what we want. That's what you get when you go to the Christian church. You get validation. You don't get education on what God commands.
Right.
You get validated about your sin. You get told to put some money in the pot and you move on. Same thing with the Muslims. Put some money in the pot, move on. Same thing with the Muslims is accepting drug dealers' monies and ain't saying nothing. Same thing with the Christians. So
Right.
like you.
Give him a hand. What he said was absolutely correct. What he said was absolutely correct, man. What's the Yoel the Legend? Do you sound familiar, Officer Brock, yet? Or any? He sound. Most time crazy. He said everything we just named is part of the curses. What you said is absolutely correct, man. And that's the whole point of this class. We've been under these curses because we want to join ourselves to every other nation of people, man. And that's why concert, yeah, concert. No slit, sir. But
This is actually, your lesson is right on point, because last time we went live, Yoel, he said that we don't need to gather together. These are little exclusive groups, blase blah, basically downplaying the gathering of God's people, saying essentially you could gather in your garage and smoke weed. I assume that's what Yoel does on TikTok.
Everybody online, I don't expect them to be a freaking prophet, especially if they ain't here. They ain't, you know what I mean, stood next to me and can't, they with the Passover. I don't expect him to fully understand, but what he did say was absolutely correct.
Right.
But what I want to warn you of, like Mike. But yeah, I don't expect every brother or sister that, you know what I mean, type in the chat to be a biblical scholar or historian, you know what I mean, because they didn't come through the training, they didn't come through the straight gate, you know what I mean, as commanded by the Most High God. So I don't expect too much from brothers and sisters who type in the chat. But what he did, you know what I mean, I will commend him for what he did say. Those are the curses, and that's why we up here teaching class. You know what I mean, that's why we teach class 7 days a week. That's why we go to camp. You know what I mean, that's why we've been warning you since 1969 of the things that you're seeing right now in 2025.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the answer for us to getting out of those curses is to gather together. You know what I mean? Oh, Baba, should I read that again?
Con, before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as a chaff, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you.
And then you don't have an unlimited amount of time to come in here, man. So, you know what I mean? Check us out. Call that number. You know what I mean? Like we keep saying, hit that QR code. You watching on TikTok. I don't know if it's a QR. Is it a QR code on TikTok? On Officer Brock yet? Okay, no sweat. But if you come, Most High Christ. Yeah, there's a link in that bio, you know what I mean? You could hit us up, follow them links, and find out the nearest, you know what I mean? I don't know if you in Texas, but if you're not in Texas, you can find the nearest school to you and get up in here, man. Get up in here because it's a time limit. Read that again, Baba Shah.
Con. It's like it. Before the day of the Lord's anger come upon you.
Before the day of the Lord. See, we wait too long. We wait until we wounded and injured to decide that we need a physician. That we need to go to the doctor. I mean, we telling you right now, go to the doctor, go get a checkup, man. Go find out, you know what I mean? Go find out what's wrong with you, man. Get healed, man. Go ahead and get around your brothers and your people. Right. You know what I mean? Don't wait until you wounded and sick and destroyed and wait until you know what I mean, the Lord is on your row, you know what I mean, before you decide to get help. Before you decide to get around your brothers, before you decide to take what the ISUPK been saying seriously, come on up in here and get some help, man.
Right.
You know what I mean, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you, man. Ain't nothing else on that. Let me get John chapter 13 and 34, Baba Kashar. See, that's the whole point, man. That's the whole point, man. If you can't have brotherhood, you can't have love for one another. You can't be a nation if you in your basement, you know what I mean, like Priest and Officer Barakia said earlier, if you in your basement by yourself getting high, you know what I mean, if you an individualite, if you you know what I mean, you to yourself, or you broke off from the home of the truth, right. You know what I mean, that was established since 1969. I mean, you can't have brotherhood if you separate from your brothers, and that's the whole point. That's the whole point. Baba, can I read what you got?
Khan, is the book of John, chapter 13 and verse 34. A new commandment I give unto you, that ye love one another, as I have loved you, that ye also love one another.
That ain't what I wanted. That's definitely important. Right. You know what I mean? The reason why it's a new commandment, the reason why it's a new commandment is, where does it say, you will know that you'll know that you are my disciples if you have love one to another. That's what I was looking for. But you know what I mean? But the reason why this is a new commandment, you know what I mean, coming from Christ, is because this is something that we haven't practiced. You know what I mean? It's much like today, where you see all your enemies and you see all your enemies around you. You look around, you go outside of your ghetto, and you see every it's the next verse. But you know what I mean? You look right outside your hometown, you know what I mean, your hood, or where you live now. You know what I mean? and you see all the people that own the businesses around you. You know what I mean? They don't look like you. They don't look like you. They all these other nations. You see how they treat you see how their excuse for raiding for them ICE raids is that they trying to get rid of all the illegal immigrants. But they incentivize illegal immigration when it comes to the Chinese, when it comes to these other nations, when it comes to the Ukrainians, when it comes to, you know what I mean, the Palestinians, when it comes to all these other nations that come in your neighborhood and set up shop and set up businesses, you know what I mean? Meanwhile, you don't own anything. And a little bit, the one or two black businesses that do exist in your neighborhood, you know what I mean, they only last, what, about a year or two before you see that they disappear and another heathen face is moved in, you know what I mean, in place. But we look around and we see all these other nations just eating off of you, and they don't put a dime back into your community, man. They don't break bread with you, but you break bread with them, and you try to join yourself to them. You try to make peace with them. I saw something that disgusted me. You know what I mean? Where brothers and sisters are seeing that this war is breaking out, and this brother made a skit where he went to the corner store where the Iranians and the Arabs and all of that, they usually own those. He went up in there. He was trying to placate to the heathens, you know what I mean, and try to make peace with the heathens. Whole time, you live right next to a brother that you hate. You know what I mean? You live, you know what I mean? You work next to a brother or a sister that you hate. You live in a house with a brother and a sister that you hate, with children that you hate, man. That's why it's a new commandment that we love one another, because it's something that we've been so hard-headed. No matter how often our oppressors show us that they are all against us, we still find a way to love everybody but blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. And that's what you're seeing right now. Salaki, go ahead, read on, Baba Kashah.
Khan, this is the book of John, chapter 13, and verse 35. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples, if you have love one to another.
By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples. I mean, you see, this is why you see all you see all these relationships falling right before your eyes. You know what I mean? That's why, you know what I mean, Donald Trump and Elon Musk was so tight and so close knit, so close knit about a couple weeks ago. You know what I mean? And now their relationship then fell apart.
Right.
You know what I mean? You see, what was it? What's his name from Sakari? Gorilla Hebrew, and what was his name? What was it, Ariala? I mean, the only reason why that scandal of the freaky business that he was on came out was because them two brothers had beef.
Right.
You know what I mean? And to take a stab at, you know what I mean, to take a stab at one brother, the other brother came out and exposed, you know what I mean, Gorilla Hebrew. And then now, because he exposed, now this brother feel like he got to expose the other brother to save face. I mean, that's why you see in these where you put your stake in, you know what I mean? So, everybody put they faith in Gorilla Hebrew. Right. You know what I mean? If you was an Israelite, you know what I mean, that was one of the most favorite Israelite groups amongst, you know what I mean, the so-called, because we not a community, but just for lack of a better word, you know what I mean, amongst the people who call themselves Israelites, you know what I mean, that was one of the brothers that blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans looked to. You know what I mean? Then you find out that he as freaky as can be. You know what I mean? But that whole thing fell apart because there wasn't no brotherhood. Right. There wasn't no brotherhood, man. If you don't love one another, if you don't love one another enough to correct one another, to not tolerate certain things, man, then you're going to fall. That's why you saw what happened in with the Nation of Islam with what's his name? Malcolm X and what was the old boy name? Elijah Muhammad. You know what I mean? Well, they was again, just like Sakari, Gorilla Hebrew, and Ariala. You know what I mean? They was in a group together, but then as soon as they start having beef, then they start exposing one another. Then they started beefing one another. You know what I mean? Just like, you know what I mean, Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Right. But the Most High commanded us to love one another. Right. I mean, and that's how. Read that again, Bob Kasha.
God. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples.
This is how you're gonna know that you are Christ's disciples. Everybody, you know what I mean, everybody that I just mentioned before, you know what I mean, Elon Musk, Donald Trump, you know what I mean, they claim to be Christ's disciples. They claim to love Christ, right? They was good Christians. You know what I mean? Donald Trump, good Christian, right? Sakari, you know what I mean, they claim to love Christ, right? But read that again, Bob Kasha.
Con, it's the book of John, chapter 13 and verse 35. By this shall all men know that ye are my disciples.
This is how you know. See, it's gonna be a lot of brothers and sisters that claim they love Christ. You know what I mean, everybody. You know what I mean. You can go outside right now and just pick out just a random person on the street, and you ask them if they love Christ, and they're gonna be like, yes. They're gonna give you a whole speech about how much they love Christ and how much they keep God dear to their heart, and this, that, and the third. They're gonna give you a whole spiel about how much they love Christ. But this is how you really know if you love Christ. Slacky, go ahead, read on, Baba Shah.
Con, if ye have love one to another.
Only if you have what?
If you have love one to another.
So all that nonsense that you talking, all of that, I love Christ and I love my brothers and I love everybody. You know what I mean? All of that don't mean nothing if you don't have love for your brother, man. And that's why right now more than ever we need to keep this brotherhood intact.
Right.
I mean, by any means.
Right.
By all means, you know what I mean, within these scriptures. I mean, because the Most High gave us the breakdown on how to handle if there's offenses, if there's discrepancies, or whatever the case is. The Most High God gave us in these scriptures through his prophets, through Christ, through, you know what I mean, the apostles and all of that, through our records, he gave us the instructions on how to stay together as a family.
Right.
That's the whole point, man. And right now, more than ever, it's time for us to utilize the tools that's been given to us over all these years, man. Because it's high time for us to wake out of sleep. It's high time for us to wake out of sleep. You know what I mean? Because it's happening right now. You know what I mean? Your oppressor's kingdom is falling. And like it says, you know what I mean, like the scriptures say, you know what I mean, the end of the world is Esau. In the beginning that follows is Jacob. You know what I mean? You see your oppressors a kingdom falling right before your eyes. You see them fighting one another. I mean, you see them being dragged into World War III right before your eyes. That should let you know that it's go time for us to gather together with the people that's not desired. Let me get Matthew 18:15 real quick.
God, is the book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 15. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone.
See, this is something. First of all, I don't know about you. I don't know about y'all, but I never heard about this scripture until I came into the truth.
Right.
Until I came into the ISUPK under Commander General Yohana, I never heard about this. You know what I mean? Which lets you know, I mean, we heard about John 3:16, for God so loved the world. You know what I mean? So that shows you that in the Christian church, in them Catholic churches and all of that, your Christian pastors, your Catholic priest prioritizes you loving your oppressor more than you loving one another. Because everybody, even if you're not a Christian, you know John 3:16, right. And you was taught to think that means God loves everybody, and you was taught that God is all love and Christ ain't got no color and all of these different things, and all of these lies. But this is the vital thing that's going to keep us together. I mean, this is gonna be the thing that indicates whether you are a follower of Christ, like we just read. Right. You know what I mean, you will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. I mean, this is how you keep your relationships intact, man. And everybody, you know what I mean, everybody who leaves the truth or refuse to come in the truth, or you know what I mean, every brother that has left their wife and kids, or you know what I mean, or every woman that has left their husband and whored themselves out, or whatever the case is, every brother that's been left, you know what I mean, it's because of what they claim is brotherhood. It's because of of issues between one another. It's because of domestic issues, so to speak. You know what I mean? But this is how you solve your issues. You know what I mean? Because right now, you ain't got time. You ain't got time to be leaving the truth right at the finish line. Right. You know what I mean? If you got an issue with a brother, you should handle it exactly how we've been taught to handle it. And it's right here. It's like you read that again, Baba Kashan?
Con, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 15. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone.
See, this is so simple. Like brotherhood and loving your brother. Follow the like the scriptures say. Also, you know what I mean. The commandments are not grievous. Following these law, statutes, commandments is not hard. You know what I mean. Following Matthew 18 and 15 is not difficult, but it's difficult. You know what I mean. That's why the two. As a matter of fact, let's get Matthew 22 real quick. We're gonna come back to that. But that's why Christ said that the two greatest commandments is to love your brother or love the Most High with all their mind, soul, and strength, right, and to love your brother as thyself. You know what I mean? 22 and 36.
Con, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 22 and verse 36. Master, which is the great commandment in the law? Yahushua said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind.
It sounds easy enough. See, because your Christian pastors has taught you superstition. You know what I mean? They taught you to just believe with all your heart and cross your fingers and close your eyes and claim it in the name of Jesus, man. They've made, you know what I mean, our culture, they've made the things in this Bible superstition. So instead of doing the things that's in this Bible to make sure that we stay together, to make sure that we don't have to endure hell, you know what I mean? We don't have to endure these curses. They've turned it into superstition. So the thing that's going to save us, they don't even teach you. Slacky, go ahead, read on.
Come. Slacky. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind.
So when we think of that, we think of, oh, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. We think of superstition. We think of 30 Our Fathers and 25 Hail Marys. You know what I mean? We think of bowing down and praying to a rock. What they do? Five times a day? You know what I mean? We think that's what we think, loving the Lord with all our heart, mind, and strength. You know what I mean? We think beating our brothers and sisters over the head with scriptures that we don't understand is loving the Lord with all their heart, mind, and strength. We think wearing a 3-piece suit and that big old hat that your auntie wear in the Christian church, we think that that's loving the Lord with all our heart, mind, and strength. Having the biggest Christmas party, the biggest Easter party. You know what I mean? Running the biggest Christian church and locking the doors. You know what I mean? Like what Marvin Sapp did. You know what I mean? Locking the doors and collecting all the you can't even call it a donation no more. You know what I mean? You talking about lock the doors. Right. You know what I mean? But that's what, because of the superstition of the Christian church, that's what we think loving the Lord with all their heart, mind, soul, and strength is. You know what I mean? But this is what Slacky, go ahead, read on. This is what well, go ahead, read on, Slacky.
Verse 38. This is the first and great commandment.
So this is the first and great commandment, but there's one that's like unto it. There's one that's very close and you can't have one without the other. Slacky, go ahead, read on, Baba Kasha.
Verse 39. And the second is like unto it.
And the second is not important.
And the second is like unto it.
Go ahead.
Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself.
See, this is why Slacky, to bounce around. Let me get Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 17.
This is the book of Leviticus chapter 19 and verse 17.
Before you read that, see, we see that word neighbor You know what I mean? The Christian church, as soon as you hear the word neighbor, Christianity clock in. You know what I mean? You hear neighbor, it's like, oh, that means you're my neighbor. You think of Billy when we hear neighbor in the Christian church, because again of the superstition and the lies and the you know what I mean, the whitewashing of our culture that's in this Bible, of the whitewashing of our records that's here in this Bible. When we hear neighbor, we automatically think of an oppressor, and for the most part, we think of the chief oppressor. You know what I mean? The devil the Bible speaks of. And Slacky, go ahead, read on.
This is the book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart.
Just like it, sir. You mind grabbing that Zondervan Bible Dictionary real quick? If you don't mind. But Slacky, go ahead, read on.
Con.
It's one in there?
I don't know.
It definitely should be one in there if it's easier to. Yeah, Con. It's one in there as well, but it's one closer right here. You ain't got to dig through those big old bags. But we because of the superstition of the Christian church, you know what I mean? When we read neighbor, we automatically think of our oppressor. You know what I mean? Which should let you know something, because when an oppressor, or when another black man comes against a black man, or especially the brothers in the ISUPK, when we say that we separate and we don't love everybody because the Most High doesn't love everybody and Christ doesn't love everybody. When they say when they try to defend that God loves everybody, they never talking about the so-called African. They never talking about the Chinese man or the Japanese man or the so-called East Indian man. You know what I mean? The number one question that comes across their mind when we do the John 3:16 breakdown and debunk what you thought about John 3:16, the number one thing that comes to mind is, what about white people? Now God gotta love white people. Oh, slavery was a long time ago. Oh, you gotta come on. You can't blame the white man for everything. That's the first thing that come to mind, man. What you gotta understand is when you read the Bible, when you see the word neighbor, you see that in Zondervan?
This is the word neighbor, the definition of neighbor in the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. Neighbor, commandments 6 through 10 deal with duties towards one neighbor. In the Old Testament, neighbors meant one who lived nearby, a fellow Israelite.
A what?
A fellow Israelite.
Nah, everybody.
A fellow Israelite.
But God so loved the world.
A fellow Israelite.
So when you see the word neighbor in the scriptures, you got to understand that that's talking about a fellow Israelite. Right. Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, the only people who have suffered the curses in Deuteronomy 28, the only people that this Bible pertains to, these holy records, these separate records pertain to. You know what I mean? If you could go back to that Leviticus 19.
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 19 and verse 17. Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor.
Now, Slakia. So this should be another indicator. It said, thou shalt not hate thy brother in thy heart. So that's another indicator. So not only your neighbor is a fellow Israelite, and those are your brothers. So when that's another, you know what I mean? That's another lie that your Christian church taught you, where when you see the word brother, you think, oh, everybody's my brother. You know what I mean? Everybody but your brother is your brother, according to the Christian church. Everybody but another black, Hispanic, and Native American man is your brother, according to the Christian church, right. According to your Catholic priests, according to every religion that was put in place to destroy blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, to separate you from your culture. Right. You know what I mean? You can't look at your brother. You can't look at another black, Hispanic, or Native American as your brother. That's why you got these coons, or you got you know what I mean, your oppressor trying to propagate a false narrative that blacks and Hispanics hate one another. Right. I mean, that's why Donald Trump, that's why he started his campaign by trying to put blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans against one another, where he said, oh, they're taking black jobs. They're coming over and taking black jobs, so we would hate one another. There's a very specific reason why that's the target. You know what I mean? That's the target or that's the topic of discussion. When he's campaigning to become your president, You know what I mean? Before he comes and sends ICE agents into Black, Hispanic, and Native American homes and jobs and schools and out the immigration office, you know what I mean? Pulling you over and abusing you. You know what I mean? There's a reason why he said that there's a reason why he targeted the relationship between blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. Man. And it's for the same reason why you don't understand this scripture. It's like you go ahead and read on.
Con. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him.
And this is why you know what I mean, what we was reading in Matthew 18 and 15 is so important, man. Because if you hate your brother, we're gonna get there in a second. But if you got a art with your brother, if you got beef with your brother, but you don't go to your brother between he and thee alone, you already in the wrong direction, man. Right. And that opens the door for your oppressor to be able to put his foot on your neck, put his boot on your neck, put his knee on your neck for 8.5 minutes and suffocate you and get no justice for it. You know what I mean? Get paid leave for taking your life. Get paid leave for raiding your house and with what's them joints called? Them masks, the poo shiesty, the shiesty mask on. You know what I mean? You got the police and the shiesty mask kicking in doors. You know what I mean? Arresting you and arresting every brave black, Hispanic, and Native American man defending their home because they thinking they being robbed. You know what I mean? It's like you go ahead and read Matthew. We go to Matthew 18:15 real quick. But this is the reason right here.
Con, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 15. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone.
See, you ain't never heard this in the Christian church because your Christian church wasn't put in position to give you your culture back. Right. Your Christian church was put in place to teach you lies so that you never get your culture back. Right. You know what I mean? That's why when we read out of the Bible and we read things like Romans 9 and 13, where it says, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated, you don't understand it. Right. You know what I mean? It goes directly against what you learned in that Christian church. You know what I mean? When you read things like what it says in Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6, thou art a holy people unto the Most High God above all nations upon the face of the earth. When you read things like that, it causes a cognitive dissonance in your mind because you've been taught for centuries lies. You know what I mean? Through that Christian church. Go ahead and read on, Baba Kashan.
Come. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother.
See, this is where brothers typically stop. You know what I mean? This is where, you know what I mean, you go to your brother and you feel like you got a you know what I mean? You go to that brother between he and thee alone. You go to that brother, you ask him, hey, you know what I mean? When you did this, when we said this, I feel like this was disrespectful, or this, that, and the third, or this offended me, or this, that, and the third. A lot of times what I see is a brother go to a brother, a sister go to a brother, a sister go to a husband, a sister go to a sister, and in your mind, it's supposed to end right there. It's like, I'm telling them that I'm offended. They supposed to say Salakia, and then boom, it's squashed. You know what I mean? But what Salakia, go ahead and read on, Bob Kasha. Is it anything important when you in the chat?
Just the weekly scoffers. You know what I'm saying? All right.
But you got to go a little deeper, man, especially if you love your brother. Because remember, the whole point is to Salakia, you mind going back one verse and reading that? Salakia, that's my fault. Read that one more time, Baba Kasha.
Khan. Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother.
No, thou hast checked thy brother.
Thou hast gained thy brother.
No, thou hast chastised thy brother.
Thou hast gained thy brother.
See, when you go to a brother, you go to a sister, and you tell them their fault between he and thee alone, the whole point of this Matthew 18:15 is for you to gain your brother. That's the whole point. It's not for you to be like, yeah, I told him. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times, too, you know what I mean, we be so emotional because, you know, I understand. You know what I mean? I used to be emotional, too. You know what I mean? More emotional than I like to admit. But, you know what I mean? you know, I get it. But we be so emotional, and we when we go to tell a brother his fault between he and thee alone, we like to go in there and be like, who you think you talking to, this, that, and the third. You feel like you gotta check that brother. You gotta let him know who he talking to, and he ain't the one. You ain't the 1, 2, or the 3, and this, that, and the third. You gotta tell him about himself, and you gotta tell him off this, that, and the third. And you gotta tell that sister, yeah, I told that B, and this, that. Like that's how we feel like we gotta come at one another because we weren't taught this in the Christian church. So when we come to one another, it's already beef from the jump. Especially if you know what I mean, you coming straight out the world. You know what I mean? You in the world, you know what I mean? We in bad shape. You know what I mean? Us in the world because again, your Christian pastors never taught you this. So it's beef off the top or off the rip. You know what I mean? 9 times out of 10, if you're not in the school, if you're not in here and you not learning these scriptures that we're breaking down right now, your first move is to go to social media and air your brother out, air your sister out. You know what I mean? Go to the family reunion, and gossip with your family members who you hate anyway. You know what I mean? Which is why every Christmas party, every Thanksgiving, every birthday, every baby shower, you know what I mean? Somebody's fighting somebody. You know what I mean? Every time we try to get together, somebody's fighting somebody. But that's 9 times out of 10 where we go with it. But we go to social media or we gossip with our, you know what I mean, especially with relationships. Good night, you know what I mean. You gotta rib with single friends. You know what I mean. Keep a close eye on her, because she got an issue with you. Guarantee you in a group chat, especially if you in a, especially if you not in here. You know what I mean. You in that group chat and she talking about all your business. You know what I mean. She talking about this nigga. I done washed his dirty drawers and he had doodle stains and they gonna air you out. You know what I mean? But that's where we go with it, because we was never taught this. You know what I mean? Your Christian pastors, they too busy taking your money. They too busy, you know what I mean, trying to figure out how they can get their hands on your children, how they can get alone time with your children and with your wives. You know what I mean? How they can turn out, you know what I mean, the brothers that come in there, you know what I mean, who may be trying to sincerely find out, you know what I mean, something about the Most High. You know what I mean? They trying to figure out how they could turn out this brother and make him an LGBTQ member. You know what I mean? How they can cover up the disgusting things that they do up in there. They too busy doing all those things to teach you the most vital thing that you can know as a Black, Hispanic, and Native American, which is how to stay together. Right. You know what I mean? How to keep your family together. It's like, go ahead, read on.
Verse 16.
So the whole point, just to reiterate, the whole point is to gain your brother.
Right.
All right. But once you get past the tell him his fault, and if he hear you, you've gained your brother. You know what I mean? You're like, hey, Salakia, you said this, and you said I ain't like the way you said this, that, and the third. Or it ain't even got to be about between you and a brother. You know what I mean? You could just see something that you that rubbed you the wrong way, or you didn't quite understand, or whatever the case is. And you go to that brother and be like, hey, Salakia, you know what I mean? I saw you did this to this brother, or you said this to this brother, and you know what I mean? It made me uncomfortable, and this, that, and the third, and it could be just that. Now, if that brother be like, you right, Salakia, you know what I mean? I ain't mean to offend you, Salakia, for, you know what I mean? What can I do to reconcile this, that, and the third? Right. Then you gauge your brother. But don't stop there. Don't stop there, man. Slacky, go ahead, read on.
Come, verse 16. But if he would not hear thee.
What? Read that again.
But if he would not hear thee.
See, this is the part where this is the part. If he, Slacky, go ahead, read on.
Con, then take with thee 1 or 2 more.
No, if he will not hear thee, cuss him out.
If he would not hear thee, then take with thee 1 or 2 more.
Nah, if he don't hear thee, you know what I mean, snatch the sister wig off.
Then take with thee 1 or 2 more.
See, there's if that sister don't hear you, because we a family. You know what I mean? We ain't always gonna see eye to eye. We different types of people. We 12 nations of people. We like, and we a large nation of people that like different things. You know what I mean? This brother might like, you know what I mean, loud music. Right. You might like, you know what I mean, soft music. This brother might like rap. You might like jazz. You know what I mean? This brother is into sports. This brother might be into anime. You know what I mean? This brother might be into gaming. You in the you know what I mean? You a militant brother. You in the guns. You know what I mean? With so many different walks of life and so many different types of brothers and types of sisters, you know what I mean? You're going to offend one another. You're going to rub one another the wrong way. You got brothers that joke on one another. You got brothers that don't like to joke.
Right.
You know what I mean? That don't like to be the butt of a joke. You know what I mean? You got brothers that are cat back and forth with you. You got brothers that ain't really with all of that. You know what I mean? Sisters too. You know what I mean? So with that being said, you're going to offend one another. But you gotta take it through the proper channels, or else you're going to hate one another. And once you hate your brother, you know what I mean, the next thing is you're going to sin. You hate your brother, and then you're going to let me get Matthew chapter 5 verse 22 real quick. You know what I mean? If you don't go through the proper channels that we trying to show you tonight, you're going to hate one another.
Right.
You're going to hurt one another. You're going to be separate. You're going to want to be separated from one another. And the Most High said, "Gather yourselves together, O nation not desire, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you." See, this is deeper than the little beef that you got. This is a little deeper than the problem that you got with your husband and the problem that you got with your wife. You know what I mean? This is a little bit deeper than, I mean, and there's different, you know what I mean, there's levels to it. You know what I mean? There's levels to it. And I ain't saying your offense is small. I'm not saying it's insignificant, but it's not more significant than, you know what I mean, the destruction of our nation.
Right.
So that's the next thing that follow. You know what I mean? Scriptures say, "Gather together, O nation not desire, before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you." You know what I mean? So for the sake of brotherhood, for the sake of our nation being intact, we should go through these proper channels. Please go ahead and read that when you got it, Baba Shah.
Khan is the book of Matthew, chapter 5 and verse 22. "But I say unto you that whosoever is angry with his brother without a cause shall be in danger of the judgment."
See, if you angry with your brother without a cause, then you are angry without you're angry. If you angry with your brother and you haven't Matthew 18:15 him, and you haven't taken him to counsel, you haven't gone through the proper channels, then you're angry with your brother without a cause. Right. Because the matter hasn't even been judged yet.
Right.
But you, because your brother hasn't heard you, or you, because you ain't even gone to your brother yet, you think that, oh, he should know that this, that, and the third, and I don't like this, and this, that, and the third, and you got this preconceived notion in your mind about this brother already, but you're not getting the matter judged, you're not hearing the judgment of the Lord, then you hate your brother without a cause. Salakia, go ahead, read on.
Khan. "And whosoever say to his brother," Salakia, "and whosoever shall say to his brother, Rakah, shall be in danger of the council. But whosoever shall say, Thou fool, shall be in danger of hellfire."
See, if you go with that preconceived notion and you don't go through the proper channels, you know what I mean, you're going to be in danger. That's what I said before. If you don't Matthew 18, we go back to Matthew 18:15 now. But if you don't Matthew 18, please, sir, you about to say something?
Salaki, if I could, I'm gonna tell you where you learn to hate your brother without a cause. That Christian church.
God.
A lot of you hate the way we dress, which is incredible to me.
Good
and
night.
we rag on them purple people. It's not because they wear purple. There's some brothers with some illustrious, glorious garments that are purple in this school. We rag on them because they wear purple and they just happen to be perverts and violent. But you know what? You hate us because of things like what we wear. You hate us. You call us Power Rangers. You hate us because we teach the Bible in its fullness, and that might mean that we shouldn't love white people. You hate us because we don't love your oppressor who you love. See, that's hating your brother without a cause.
Right.
And if you're doing that, then you're in danger of the judgment of a council or God's judgment. And you ought to reflect on that and fix yourself. And let's say you're not in that Christian church, right? You're a little bit more removed from that. Well, then look, if you hate on your brother, some of you, like you were describing, some of you hate the background of a brother, whatever that might be. You might hate drug dealers. A brother come in here, repent from dealing drugs. You might hate on him, and that's not even that man anymore. You might hold something against him. Y'all might have history even. I've often meditated on if my enemies ever came into this school, and something that you will wash yourself of is to make sure that you know that that brother isn't that anymore. That you cannot hate that brother without a cause. He's done nothing to you. You're not the man he offended back then, and he's not the man who offended you back then.
Right.
So you got to be new people in Christ.
Right.
So that's something you could do. A lot of people don't know when they hate a brother without a cause. They just be a hater. Don't be a hater, man. This is in the Bible. Don't be a hater. Don't hate on your brother because, you know, whatever. Maybe he nerdy. Don't hate on the brother because, you know, maybe this brother's more fashion wise or something like that. Forgive most sisters or whatever. Don't ever be that type of brother that's evil in the eyes of God. Salakia.
Give him a hand. What he said was absolutely correct. And if I could just add to what you just said, you know what I mean? The chief reason why people outside of the ISUPK hate us is because we teach the truth. Right. We say what the Most High said. We say what the prophets said. You know what I mean? We say what Christ said and the apostles after him said. You know what I mean? We just like Christ did. You know what I mean? He quoted the prophets. You know what I mean? Everything he said and did came from the prophets. You know what I mean? And that's the chief reason why anybody outside of the ISUPK hates us. You know what I mean? 'Cause you know what I mean? You don't hate Donald Trump. You know what I mean? You don't hate you don't hate Sakari. You don't hate the IUIC.
LGBTQ community.
Yeah, you don't hate the LGBTQ community. You don't hate
Catholic Church.
You don't hate the Catholic Church, even though they are notorious for what's that? They are notorious and documented for, you know what I mean, violating your children. They treat them just like how they do the police force that take your life. You know what I mean? The police force, they take your life, and then the police officer in question, you know what I mean, they get paid leave, and then they get sent to another precinct across town to continue to do the same job that they failed at. That's exactly how we treat our Christian pastors and our Catholic priests. You know what I mean? Where they violate your children and violate your wives, and you know what I mean? They LGBTQ galore all up in there. And once they fail at their job at teaching blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans their true culture and identity that's in this Bible, they get sent across the you know what I mean, sent across the across town to continue to do the same job that they failed at. You know what I mean? But that's why you hate us, man, because we don't teach you smooth things. We don't lessen the debt. You know what I mean? Like it says in the scriptures. We don't lighten your debt that you owe to the Most High. See, to the Most High, you have to be a new creature. You have to change yourself. You have to present yourself as a living sacrifice.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can't be that old man no more. You have to be completely different. You have to change your life. But your Christian pastors, you know what I mean, you could just come as you are. You can come as you are, and that's the reason why we're so hated. You know what I mean? That's why we're so hated. We get so much flack. So, like, you wanted to say something?
If I could, that's heavy what you're bringing out, because like the Christian church say, you know what I'm saying, come as you are, but they hate us because we say you can come as you are, but you can't stay that way. You know what I'm saying? Salakia.
No, that's heavy. You know what I mean? And that's not, you know what I mean? Christ didn't do that. Right. You know what I mean? Even when he chastised, or when he the Pharisees had brought him the woman that was caught in the act of adultery. You know what I mean? He didn't allow them to stone her. You know what I mean? He said he without sin cast the first stone. And because of the hypocrisy because they knew that they were hypocrites, because they knew that they were doing this, they had probably just got done sleeping with her. You know what I mean? Because they were hypocrites, and they weren't they weren't, what's the word? They didn't have the authority to be able to stone her because they weren't clean. You know what I mean? They had to leave. But so he didn't stone her, but he also didn't say, come as you are and stay as you are. He said, go and sin no more.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's what your Christian church does. They bring you in and they say, you know what I mean? He without sin cast the first stone. That's their favorite, right? They say he without sin cast the first stone. They only say that to cover their hypocrisy. But they don't tell you go and sin no more. They teach you, as a matter of fact, most Christian churches, most fake Israelite groups, most Christian Israelite groups, they teach you if you don't sin, then you really don't have faith. That's what they teach. They tell you to sin more to show you to show your faith in the Most High. You know what I mean? But that's not what the Bible says, man. So that's why we so hate it, because we teach what the Bible actually says,
Right.
and we're not hypocrites.
Right.
Which is another. That's the death of Christians. You know what I mean? That's the death of Christianity. What did Christ say? He said, "Behold, the leaven of the Pharisees, which is hypocrisy." You know what I mean? They don't have no authority because they're hypocrites. You know what I mean? They don't have no power because they're hypocrites. But in the ISUPK, we've been taught to walk it like we talk it. You know what I mean? That's why we had these classes 7 days a week. It's like you go ahead, read on.
God. Verse 16. But if he would not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of two or three witnesses every word may be established.
See, what we think, because again, we haven't been taught this. So what we think when we read, you know what I mean, when we see in the mouth of two or three witnesses, you think you and your girlfriends. You know what I mean? You got an issue with your husband. So you go to your single, you married, right? You married, you got a husband, you got a family, you know what I mean? You well taken care of and well kept, but you got an issue with your husband, and you go to your you know what I mean, your girlfriend, your single girlfriends. And I don't know if you notice, and well, I know, good night. I ain't gonna speak. I ain't gonna go into that, but I don't know if you notice, but single women want to keep you single.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you a sister, you married, you know what I mean? Depending on the type of friends that you got, you know what I mean? Your single girlfriends want to keep you single. Hey, Yavashtai, going down, you to walk? Most time Christ. But your single girlfriends want to keep you single. They don't know what it's like to get and keep a man. You know what I mean? To have a man protect them and guide them and be under the protection of a man. You know what I mean? Which is why they're not qualified to give you counsel in the first place. Slack you, sir. What you about to say?
Con, I was just gonna back up what you're saying. There's a age-old saying, "Misery loves company."
Oh.
So if your single friend who either can't get right or doesn't want to get right sees you happily with a man, she's going to try her best to pull you away from that, peel you away from that. Same thing if you hang out with a lot of drug dealers. They're going to want you to get high. They're going to want you to fund their drug habits, get high with them, disregard all your responsibilities in life to pursue your drug habits or create one. Because misery loves company. You're going to fall prey to your dumb friends. Right. When I would just advise you to get better friends. You know what I mean? So like you.
Give him a hand. Salaki. It's a precept that I want to get. Love not the world. Salaki. I believe so. Verse John chapter 2. So on. See, this is why it's important. You know what I mean? This is why it's important. What the brother said was so heavy. Because nowadays, because the world revolves around social media and money and hand claps and you know what I mean, emotion and pleasure, you know what I mean, we've attached ourselves to the world, man, and we'll sacrifice everything. We'll sacrifice everything for that hit of dopamine that comes from the things that are in the world. You know what I mean? That comes from social media, that comes from validation. We choose validation over the cure for our problems. You know what I mean? Bob, should I go ahead and read that?
God, it's the book of 1 John chapter 2 and verse 15. Love not the world.
Now, love the world. God so loved the world, right?
Love not the world.
Now, love the world.
Love not the world.
Hey, what else? What else did that say?
Neither the things that are in the world.
See, you are not supposed to love the world, man. See, you loving the world, or us rather, us as Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, us loving the world, you know what I mean, and attaching ourselves to the world and the validation that comes to the world. We put validation over, you know what I mean, over you know what I mean, the cure for the problem between our people. I mean, I see I know the what's it called? What's that joint called? The Pop the Balloon Challenge. You know what I mean? The Pop the Balloon Challenge and these podcasts that be circulating with women talking about how disgusting men are and how the podcast talking about men talking about how disgusting women are. That's got those two things, the pop the balloon and the gold digger challenge. Pop the balloon, gold digger challenge, and these podcasts, these women hater, man hater podcasts got to be the worst thing, you know what I mean, on social media right now. You know, come, come. We, please. You was about to say something?
I'm gonna tell y'all something. Don't fall prey to all these fake things online. I think there secretly is a gold digger challenge to cuck chair pipeline in America. I don't think it's a very wide pipeline, but if you consume too much of that, oh, all women are gold diggers, you're gonna be, maybe you'll get some money, but you'll be in that cuck chair like Diddy eventually. You understand what I'm saying? Y'all boys better, y'all too worried about having a woman that's beautiful and disregard if she's evil, man. Or on what you said earlier about like women and the friends that they choose, you could tell a woman by the kind of friends she's around. There was a few women. So like, let that go, boy. There's a few women who went out on a girls' trip, and one of the friends refused to cheat, and the other girl started yelling at her, and she said, girl, we on this girls' trip in Miami. We're gonna all cheat. We're gonna do it together, because she wanted insurance. So you weren't the only good one.
Right.
You weren't the one who was, what's they call it? Did not sin. So everybody wants to be careful what you consume, who you hang around. I would just advise you to, join a UPK. That way you're sure.
Come.
It's signed and sealed when you come in here. Ain't no freaky business in here. We purged that out. You come in here freaky, you got about 90 days. You got about 90 days. I better not see no freakiness on you. You a hoe, you got about 90 days. I better not see no freakiness on you. But that's the only way to be sure, to make sure. Salakia.
No, what he said was absolutely correct. If you don't mind, just read the rest of that real quick. You caught me off guard with it. He said, "What he say? What you say? The gold digger challenge to cut chair pipeline." That's crazy business. Well, what he said was absolutely correct, and I want to let y'all brothers and sisters know something. Get off social media, man. Just some brothers like Commander General Yohana said, some brothers need to dry up. You know what I mean? You need to dry up off that liquor. You know what I mean? Right. Most of our brothers and sisters, you know what I mean, need to dry up off that social media. I promise you, if you keep on shaping your worldview based on what you see on social media, you know what I mean, you're going to hate your brother. Slacky, go ahead, read on.
Con. Love not the things that are in the world.
Uh-huh.
If any man love the world and love, Salakia, the love of the Father is not in him.
See, this is what I was just saying. If you continue to consume social media and you see these gold digger challenges and you see the pop the balloon and all of that, and which is both, you know what I mean, whether it's one man standing there in front of a whole bunch of women or if it's one woman standing there in front of a whole bunch of men, I think that whole concept is disgusting. You know what I mean? Because we just want to either tear each other apart, and a whole row of men standing there and for one woman is outrageous to me. That's nigh unto, you know what I mean? That's the cuck chair, like the priest was saying. That's the pipeline right there. You know what I mean? You about another reel. You scroll up and watch another. You know what I mean? You about 5 reels away from the chair. You know what I mean? But if any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. If you constantly shaping your worldview off of what the world wants to put in your face or what the world says about your brother, you know what I mean? To prove the point, the world is telling black people to hate Hispanics and Hispanics to hate blacks. You know what I mean? If you shape your worldview, you shape your morals based on what you see on social media and what you know what I mean, what's being pushed in front of you, the love of the Father is not in you. You know what I mean? You're going to hate one another. You know what I mean? You keep shaping your worldview off of what you see on these podcasts with these brothers. Some of them not even brothers, but these men talking about how sour don't get me wrong, we've been sour to one another, brothers and sisters. Right. But you know what I mean, to make a whole podcast about, you know what I mean, just spending these podcasts be on average 2 hours. 2-3 hours just talking about just bashing one another. You know what I mean? You shape your worldview based on that, you're gonna hate one another. You know what I mean, and that's why we've grown accustomed to, instead of going to one another and hashing out our problems, we get divorces.
Right.
You know what I mean, instead of going to one another to solve our problems, we get on I almost said World Star. Good night. We getting on social media and you know what I mean, recording fights and all of that, and how, you know what I mean, we it's a all out brawl, and you know what I mean, sisters just naked and all of those different things. Because the love of the Father is not in us, man.
Right.
All right, so like we could go back to that we could go back to that Matthew 18 and oh yeah, Baba Shah, the water. But actually we go back to 17 if you don't, or 16 if you don't mind.
This is the book of Matthew, chapter 18 and verse 16. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses every word may be established.
What? How many words?
Every word may be
Not
established.
just your side of the story.
Every word must be established.
See, the thing about going to social media about your problems, the thing about gossiping about your problems, going to your girlfriends, going to your homeboys, and talking all this mess about whoever you got beef with, you know what I mean? Every word can't be established. You know what I mean? So you put it on social, and then you're causing more offenses. You get on social media and blast your brother, blast your sister. You know what I mean? Every word ain't established. There's no justice that comes from that. You could be right, but now because you're offended, but you refuse to go to the proper channels, you sinned because now you hate your brother without a cause.
Right.
Because we can't even find out if you got a righteous cause to be upset with your brother. I mean, because now you sinning. Now you done went upside your brother's head. Instead of going to that brother between he and thee alone, instead of going to counsel, 'cause that's what the 2 or 3 witnesses is. You know what I mean, men who are wiser than you, who have no attachment to your condition or to your what's it called, to your situation.
Right.
You know what I mean? Those two or three witnesses are neutral and they're wiser than you. You know what I mean? They give you counsel from the Lord. You know what I mean? But instead of getting that, you know what I mean, you decide that you're gonna go upside your brother's head and you're gonna leave your husband, you're gonna go and sleep with another man, you're gonna leave the truth, you're gonna start talking mess about your brothers and your sisters and all of that. You know what I mean? Now you're sinning because you hate your brother without a cause, and you haven't brought it to the proper channels to find out if you even have a righteous cause to even be upset. Slacky, go ahead.
Verse 17. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church.
Tell it unto the church. The church is the school.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's all church means. You tell it to the school. You bring it before the school. You bring it before Commanding General Yohana and have it judged that way. You bring it to major council. You know what I mean? And let the nation, you know what I mean, hear. And let the judgment come from the generals. Go ahead. But here's the problem, though. If you're not in the school, who you taking? How can you take a brother to counsel? You're not in the school. How can you resolve issues?
Right.
If you don't have a family, if you don't gather together, O nation not desired, how can you resolve these issues? There's no way to solve problems if you don't have a family, if you don't have wise men. You know what I mean? If you don't have these scriptures, you don't have men who can give you counsel from the Lord, you know what I mean, who've seen your condition before, who got the patience, who aren't involved in your situation. It's like it, sir. Go ahead.
You just said something very wise. Who is going to follow these rules of this government? If it ain't going to be it, because you know it ain't that damn church. You know it ain't your own family. Your own family won't listen to you when you try to tell them. Your mama won't listen to you. Mama, you know, you did some things happen when I was a child I ain't really agree with. Your mama going to blow you off. You can't take your mama to counsel because your mama does not adhere to the words of God. Right. The only people you can take to counsel on the planet Earth are the brothers in the ISUPK. That's if you're in the school or out the school. That's how much we adhere to it. I don't even know your name. A nigga named John can call General Muhammad and be like, I'm offended at Officer Officer, IBR, I don't do nothing, y'all. That's IBR. He do everything. And then he's going to hear him.
Right.
He's going to hear Joe Schmo or any brother because that's important to us.
Right.
A regular black man who has a problem with his fellow black brother who wants to get it dealt with the correct way. That's important to us here in the ISUPK, man. You're not going to get that anywhere else. So why would you go anywhere else? You instead of having the Bible says, why would you law with the heathen? Get me right on this if I'm paraphrasing that wrong. Why would you go to court with the heathens? Why wouldn't you sooner go to court with your brothers? Why you taking him? Why you trying to call the police on or trying to call the police on him to get him in trouble when we could get him in trouble right in here?
Right.
We don't need the oppressor to go to get the brother in trouble. We can get the brother in trouble right here, right now. We can get you an apology, get you something adequate to try to build the bridge of brotherhood again. You know what I mean? Drink about it, cry about it, laugh about it, whatever it takes to get us whole again and truly healed. That's what black people like to say they want to do. We need to heal. Well, you can't heal if it ain't in the ISUPK.
Right.
Shalakia.
Right. Now, what he said was heavy. Give him a hand. And that's what you got. What the brother said was heavy. You know what I mean? If you're not in the truth and you got an offense or whatever the case is with a brother, you know what I mean? I encourage you to follow these steps that we're talking about in Matthew chapter 18, 15 through 18. You know what I mean? So we stop at Matthew 18, 15. But I encourage you, whether you're in the truth or not, especially if you're in the truth, but if you're not in the school, you know what I mean? I encourage you to try it. You know what I mean? You got an offense with a brother. I encourage you to go to that brother between he and thee alone. And if he don't hear you, or if he hear you, you know what I mean? Call General Muhammad. Call Commander General Yohana. Call Captain Tazaryak. You know what I mean? Call that brother's camp leader. You know what I mean? And I guarantee you're going to find out what true brotherhood is. You're going to find out what true justice is. You know what I mean? And what it's like to be a family. I mean, we think that once we stop being happy, or once we stop being happy with a brother or sister, you know what I mean, we think that's grounds for, you know what I mean, leaving that brother, leaving that sister, you know what I mean, separating from one another. But that's not the case at all. You know what I mean? What you're going to find out, if you follow these instructions today, you're going to find out what it's like to be a family. You know what I mean? And regardless, hey, shalom Christ, sir. What you're going to find out is following these instructions, you're going to find out what it's like to actually be a real family and to get justice if you were wronged. You know what I mean? And to get true correction on how to be a better brother if you in fact, you know what I mean, if it's found out to be nothing, that you don't have anything justifiable to be offended about. You know what I mean? Where we at? Let's go ahead and finish this Matthew 18 and finish the rest of this real quick.
God. And if he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let him be unto thee as an heathen. It's like as an heathen man and a publican.
As a what?
As a heathen man, as a publican.
See, this is now if you don't hear your brother and you done went through the council, you done went through this, that, and the third, you went through Matthew 18, 15, the brother ain't hear you, or you ain't hear the brother, and you done went to council, you still ain't hearing them, you done went to major council, you still ain't hearing, then now it's time to treat you as just Joe Schmo. Right. You know what I mean? You Joe Schmo out the world. Right. You know what I mean? But this is what we like to do. We like to go to, if a brother, you know what I mean, you Matthew 18, 15 a brother, and you go to a brother between he and thee alone, and he don't hear you, then we like to skip right to this part. Treat him like a heathen man and a publican. You know what I mean? But that just shows you that you still got some Christianity and you still got a lot to learn. You know what I mean? But that's how we keep our nation together. You know what I mean? You take it to council, you get that thing resolved, and we can stay a nation so that the fierce anger of the Lord don't got to come on us no more, man. Because right now you seeing the fierce anger of the Lord about to come on your oppressor. Right now ain't the time for you to be, you know what I mean, hating your brother and giving the Lord a reason to, you know what I mean, get on your rope. It's time for us to come together and love one another so that the Most High can be with us, so that we can, you know what I mean, get the popcorn ready and watch our oppressors destroy each other and not have to worry about nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Uh, but that's the whole process of the Matthew 18:15. You know what I mean? That's the whole steps. You know what I mean? You make sure you follow them to a T. Otherwise, if you don't follow all of those steps from beginning to end, then you're going to sin. You're going to hate your brother without a cause. You're going to wanna hurt your brother. You know what I mean? You're gonna, or you know what I mean, on the other side, you know what I mean, you see something that offends you, but you don't take that brother to counsel. You don't Matthew 18:15 that brother. You gonna cause that brother to sin. You know what I mean? And all of those things is what's gonna divide us and keep us destroyed as a nation. All right. It ain't no questions or comments or anything, just a bunch of hecklers. All right, no sweat. Aitas Zakabar, you had a question last week. In Hebrews 10, right? 10 and I believe it's like 22. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Yeah. All right. You want to read it, or you two are you? The water.
No sweat. Kind of, it's the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, and verse 22. Let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water.
So that was it there? That was the one, right? Okay. All right, so this is talking about you being a sacrifice. You get the point? Like what he's referencing right here. Let's go to chapter 9 and let me see if I can find it. Salakia. Oh, yeah, please, Baba.
Kind of verse 21. And having an high priest over the house of God, let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water.
Actually, if you don't mind, you could just bring the whole chapter up and go like 2 more verses up, real quick, just so we could get a little bit more context.
Kind of the book of Hebrews, chapter 10, and verse 9.
Aitazak Gabor, go to Hebrews 9 and verse 11.
Verse 19. Having therefore, brethren, boldness to enter into the holiest by the blood of Yahushua, by a new and living way, which he hath consecrated for us, through the veil, that is to say, his flesh. And having an high priest over the house of God, let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience and our bodies washed with pure water.
This is one of the many problems of the Christian church, where they like to tell you, like, since Christ, you know what I mean, gave his life, then now that's a free license to sin. But this is telling you otherwise. You know what I mean? Before, when and this is a direct reference to, you know what I mean, Moses, I believe, in the book of Exodus, where the high priest would, you know what I mean, we would sacrifice, you know what I mean, we'll do animal sacrifice, right? And go ahead and read what you got real quick, and it's going
the book of Hebrews, chapter 9, verse 11. But Christ began coming high priest of good things to come, by a greater and more perfect tabernacle, not made with hands, that is to say, not of this building. Verse 12. Neither by the blood of goats and calves, but by his own blood he entered in once into the holy place, having obtained eternal redemption for us.
See, before we would give like the firstborn of like animals, you know what I mean, without blemish. You know what I mean? That's how we used to, you know what I mean, atone for sins or whatever the case is. But Christ he was perfect. He was a man that was born from a woman and spent his entire life. You know what I mean? He ain't never taste pork. He ain't never sinned. He ain't never, you know what I mean? He ain't never sinned. He ain't never transgressed the law, which is sin. You know what I mean? And then he gave his life for the sake of blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. So there's no higher sacrifice than, you know what I mean? There's no, after that, you know what I mean? That there's no more, there's no animal sacrifice that you can make, right? But go ahead, read on. Verse 13.
Verse 13, for if the blood of bulls and goats and the ashes of an heifer, sprinkle the unclean, sanctified to the purifying of the flesh.
So this is, I believe, we kind of touched on it in Sabbath service as well, where you know what I mean, the high priest would dip his finger in the, you know what I mean, the blood, and he sprinkled it on the congregation, you know what I mean, as a representation of the covenant that we was making before the Most High God. Go ahead, read on.
Verse 14, how much more shall the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God, purge your conscience from dead your conscience for dead works to serve the living God.
You know what dead works are, right, Zakabor?
Works without faith.
So give me Deuteronomy, I believe it's chapter 30 and verse, what is it? 19? Yeah, come on, Baba Kashah.
God, this is the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 30 and verse 19. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, and both thou and thy seed may live.
So right before this, go ahead, Salaki.
God, verse 20.
So before he about to tell you, so he said, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Now remember the question, what are dead works? All right, he's about to tell you. Go ahead.
That thou mayest love the Lord thy God, and that thou mayest obey his voice, and that thou mayest cleave unto him. For he is thy life, and the length of thy days, that thou mayest dwell in the land which the Lord sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give them.
So you want to give it another shot? Let me give you another one. Well, how you get life?
By being born.
No, okay. That's a carnal. That's carnal. Spiritually, how do you get life?
By obeying the law, statutes, and commandments.
So what are dead works?
Not obeying the law, statutes, and commandments.
Give him a hand. So let's go back to where was we at in Hebrews. All right, let's go to Hebrews. Where was we at? What was the last? What was the last one we read? 14. Reverse 14 again.
The book of Hebrews, chapter 9, verse 14. How much more shall the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living God.
So the whole point of Christ's death was to make us, to put it on our conscience that a man who never sinned paid for the crime that you committed. That's the whole point. It's supposed to put it on our conscience that because this man who's completely innocent gave his life, that we don't sin no more. You know what I mean? Otherwise, we gonna trot under the foot of the death of Christ. You know what I mean? It's gonna be like Christ died for nothing. That's what your Christian pastors do. Now let's go to 10 real quick, and I believe 22.
It's the book of Hebrews, chapter 10 and verse 22. Let us draw near with a true heart and full assurance of faith, having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience.
So now remember in the past, you know what I mean, to as a representation of the covenant that we was making with the Most High, that's what they did. You know what I mean? That was something that Aaron did. You know what I mean? Was it Aaron or Moses? But the high priest at that time, you know what I mean, he sprinkled the congregation with the blood, right? You know what I mean? Now that Christ, you know what I mean, gave his life an innocent man for us who aren't innocent, go ahead, read on.
And our bodies washed with pure water.
Start from having our heart.
Having our hearts sprinkled from an evil conscience.
So now, instead of us, you know what I mean, now we're the sacrifice. Now we have to present ourselves as a living sacrifice. That's what this is talking about. You understand? Go ahead, read on, Baba Shah.
And our bodies washed with pure water.
And that's how you become the living sacrifice. You come to class, you get taught how to be, you know what I mean, better, how to be clean. You get the point? You about to say something?
Yeah, now thinking why I asked the question, it was the purified water, like could a Christian try to use it as a baptism, you know what I'm saying? The water baptism.
Yeah. That's not what that's not what baptism is. You know what I mean? Baptism is by us. You get baptized by you know what I mean, coming in here and learning how to be a new creature. You know what I mean? And that also went into your question that last week as well in Hebrews 11. We was talking about faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. And you read at the top of chapter 10, it talks about all the patriarchs, right? And all the things that they did. You know what I mean? How Abraham, he was amongst a strange people. The Most High told him, you know what I mean? The Most High gave him instructions. He told him to leave his family, and, you know what I mean? He gave him instructions. Noah, you know what I mean? He told him to build this ark. You know what I mean? He was perfect in his generations, whereas everybody else around him was, you know what I mean, interracially married, sleeping with all these strange people, strange nations. You know what I mean? All the patriarchs, who else? That's a show of their faith because, you know what I mean, they believed that the Most High was going to give them, you know what I mean, he believed in what the Most High was telling them, so they followed his instructions. But that's the you know what I mean, that's your answer. Does that answer your question, or you need a little bit more? All right, Most High Christ. That isn't anything else in the anything else? There's still a whole bunch of no sweat. All right, with that, we're gonna end the class right there. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share with your loved ones. Whether you agree or disagree, you know what I mean, we ain't ducking no smoke over here. And if you know what I mean, if you ain't watching live or whatever the case is, you got more questions or comments or concerns, you can get that QR code in the top right corner. And there'll be a brother in that chat morning, noon, and night to answer all your questions and solve all your problems. With that, we're gonna say I Madium. Give a courtesy salute to your brother. Emmanuel, Barak.
Yeah, how about you? Yeah, how about you?